Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hi, Jackie Kashian here. You're listening to The Dork Forest. You know the websites, dorkforest.com, thedorkforest.com if you like a determiner. JackieKashian.com has everything. Both of my podcasts, all of the stand-up stuff, the new album, links to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. But so, I think, does dorkforest.com, where you can look at old videos of different shows. Anyway, if you want to support the show, tell people about the show, review it on iTunes, thumbs it up on Pandora or Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. I appreciate that. You can donate. You can donate monthly. PayPal lets you do that. You can also do my Venmo if you like. It's at Jackie Kashian, absolutely everywhere. And my email address is jackie@jackiekashian.com, and that's what the PayPal is. The PayPal link is on jackiekashian.com and dorkforest.com. And go to any of them. Thanks for listening. There's merch, there's stand-up, there's tour guide. You know, you can find out where I'm touring. This is getting long, so let's get into the show. Hi, Jackie Kashian. I'm in my mother-in-law's office in Exeter, California, on the Zoom with Shelley McLendon. Hello, Shelley McLendon, owner of the Siren Theater in Portland, Oregon. I'm playing it in September. I've played it before. It's always a delight. Portland, Oregon, full of the Civil War and yet people with good hearts. How are you? And welcome.
I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm prepared.
And I like that. It's at Shells McBells in the Instagram. The Siren Theater is www, that's right, I'm in my 50s, .sirentheater.com. But there's also your personal, which is smoothjazzinferno.com.
Yes.
Okay, before we talk about your dorkdom, I need to know about smoothjazzinferno.com. What is happening?
So I own the Siren, but I'm also, a performer, and I've done some stuff, and so I need my own website where people can go. And I'm like, do I want to have Shelley McLendon? Some people who are actors have really fun names for their website, and I'm like,
sure.
I want people to know when they look at the website, when they just look at the what is it, address?
URL.
Mm-hmm. They kind of get it. They kind of get a little bit of flavor, and so I'm like,
do you play smooth jazz?
No, but
you enjoy smooth jazz.
Yeah, I do.
There you go.
I don't like to admit it, but I do.
Well, JackieKashian.com. You could also go to FamilyPetAncestry.com, and that points you to JackieKashian.com. And it is entirely because I thought it was funny. So, and yet I continue to pay something like $11 a year for it. So it's not. Anyway, so smooth jazz. I don't know anything about smooth jazz, by the way, but I know that it's on fire because smooth jazz inferno. Do I?
I think you do.
Have I been to a grocery store and I've heard smooth jazz?
You absolutely have. Your dentist office, when you're on hold.
Things are happening. Is there a horn section? I love a horn section.
Sometimes.
Okay.
I mean, Kenny G, probably the most famous smooth jazz.
Okay.
I don't even know if he would consider himself smooth jazz, but he is.
Let's judge him and call him smooth jazz, though he might think he's a rock star. And
he would be incorrect, but he could think that.
What I like about the Siren Theater, by the way, is that I'm going to be there the 16th and 17th. And when we first met, Lori Kilmartin and I did a show together, and we hung out for several hours, and it felt like I had known you forever.
Yeah.
It literally, when you meet somebody and you're like, oh, we would be friends if we lived in the same town. Mm-hmm. We would have coffee and brunches. Things would happen. But so, in other words, I like you. You're very nice.
Oh, I like you too.
Thank you very much. Now, your dorkdom, not something I've ever wanted to watch. It is the world of a cult documentary.
Yeah.
You love a documentary about a bunch of cuckoo birds who've lost the thread.
I can't get enough. I can't get enough of it. I will watch. First of all, I'll watch a documentary just about anything.
Okay.
I love a documentary. It doesn't even have to be good.
The last documentary, I think, was that Fire, Salt, Sweet. It's usually a food documentary with me. Mm-hmm. And it's usually the history of fire or Though there is a series on BBC where this very hilarious old professor lady talks about the Romans. She's constantly dissecting the Romans. She's got a lot of documentary series. Are these documentary films?
Let's see. The ones that I gave
from
you,
your
yes.
list?
Yes, they are all films except for The Vow. That one is a series.
And what do you think is the difference between a one-off film and a series? Do you think
That's a
are
good
they
question.
different?
Well, first of all, documentaries now, like the documentary series that are happening now, are super great. Like the ones on HBO, The Way Down, that's another super good one. The one about what's the leggings? It's selling leggings. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's
on
it's
HBO?
Not, yes, it's It's not Lululemon.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a documentary about like a pyramid scheme where people sell whimsical leggings. It's a multi-level marketing, and it's a series. It's really good.
Whoa. Okay.
It's really good.
That sounds like some bad life choices right there, but okay. That's amazing. Someone's making dollars.
Yes.
And you know that my father once got a free shipment of soap? And in the 60s, he told me, and him and a buddy of his had it bottled where it was a tiny bit of soap and then water and then sold it as a special soap.
And that worked?
Well, they made several $1,000s in 1967. So that's a great deal of money. And then he, of course, either gave it away or used it to shelter us indoors. I don't know what he didn't invest it. This is what we know. He didn't turn it into some sort of future.
That's a great idea.
I don't know.
My mom, on that same thing, she, this was years ago, she opened up a bag of M&Ms. She was baking cookies, and all the M&Ms were gray, which was like the winning bag of M&Ms. And so she won a lifetime supply of M&Ms.
What? That sometimes there's just a snippet of someone's life where you're like, what has happened?
Does that mean my parents have M&Ms in their house all the time? No, she just got a shit ton of coupons.
Oh, she had to also take action.
Yes.
Which means it's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
My friend Hannes Finney won a year of free Wiener Schnitzel. Which was it's a hot dog place and it's gross. But the weird thing about
Wiener Schnitzel.
Okay. And he was talking about it. He said, now you make fun of me that I've won a year of free with Wiener Schnitzel, but first prize was actually like $10,000. So second prize was a year of free Wiener Schnitzel.
You know what? You can equal that out. Like you could get $10,000 worth of Wiener Schnitzel in a year. Was that like Wiener Schnitzel every day? Was there a limit?
I don't know. We never spoke of it again. I think that it was probably a choice on my part. I should have Hannes Finney on the Dork Forest to talk about Wiener Schnitzel. I'm going to pick this first one.
Yes.
Holy Ghost People.
Yes.
What the hell is that?
Okay, so I found out about this documentary while watching another documentary called Alabama Snake, which was on Netflix.
Okay.
And it's about, first of all, we kind of need to define what a cult is, because a lot of the documentaries that I enjoy are about sex with a CTS.
Okay.
Sects of Christianity, which isn't necessarily considered a cult. And so I'm like, well, what is this? Just like religious documentaries that I love?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But someone is weeded off in a very specific way. Like my oldest brother, for many years, had his own church. It was his own sect of Christianity, and to my knowledge, it wasn't too creepy. It wasn't great. There was a lot of anger, a lot of judgment, a lot of hellfire. But other than that, like it wasn't like he went up into the mountains and was having sex with children. You know, he didn't decide to have a harem.
Yeah. And that's where all these documentaries go, where all these cults seem to go south, is weird sex stuff.
Right. It's absolute power corrupting, absolutely.
Right.
When in the case of STAY-KASHIAN, he had a hard life. And so when he found the Jesus and decided to pass on the Jesus, it was kind of a very stern Jesus
Mm-hmm.
that he was like, well, and it was very, very moral and very, he once told me, because he got divorced about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and he said, I never cheated on her. And I said, it's a hell of an epitaph. Is that what you want on your gravestone? You got to aspire to something greater than that. We haven't spoken in some time. Anyway, because I'm a dick and he is a grump. So together,
Dicks and grumps don't go together well.
it's oil and water. It's no, and we both for reasons of self-care have chosen not to. Anyway, but okay.
So cults
yes.
were like
Alabama Snake.
So Alabama Snake. That was about. This was part true crime, part culty documentary.
Okay.
Where it was about, and Alabama Snake isn't even on my top 5 list, but it's a good one. And it's about this. So there's a sect of super Pentecostal Christianity where they take that one verse from the Bible that talks about handling snakes, and the Lord is powerful enough where if you are bitten by an asp, then it won't kill you, or whatever the fucking verse is. And then they take that and they literally take snakes and they handle them to show like this is how we worship. This is how we,
Wow,
this is for real.
that is super specific.
Yes.
Super specific.
You're gonna hear my dog, by the way.
Hi,
he's
dog.
A beagle. He's a beagle, and he's got a lot to say.
Yeah, he does.
So anyway, Alabama Snake was about this. Someone murdered their wife, or tried to murder their wife via handling of a church snake.
Yeah, church snake. Yes.
And they talked about this documentary, Holy Ghost People, where it's a super gritty, like there's no narration. It is just they turn the camera on. There's some edits, but they turn the camera on. It's black and white, and they are just filming this Pentecostal church service where ultimately, they bring the snakes out. Everybody's, working themselves into a frenzy. And it is so good. So comparing that documentary, I started talking about this earlier. Documentaries now are super produced, super like with slow motion and,
pan and scan.
Yeah, exactly.
Ken Burns. They've Ken Burns all of even your religious documentaries.
Yes. And they're gorgeous and they're wonderful. This is not that. This is like someone with a Super 8 filming. And you can
secretly.
See it on YouTube. Yes.
Holy Ghost People is literally just, he's a beagle. He's going to be barking at many things. Because that's what beagles do. We have a beagle lives around the corner. I sometimes just walk by just to light those beagles up.
He sounds like he's in pain all the time, and he's not. That's just how he sounds. But anyway, so you can see this documentary on YouTube. It's so great. And at the end, can I spoil it?
Yeah. Are you kidding me? It's a documentary, so they could probably read the article.
True.
So is this Holy Ghost that you're talking, or Alabama Snakes?
Holy Ghost People. This is this was filmed in the 60s. And at the end, they bring the snakes out and they're dancing, and one of the pastors gets bit by a snake, and they're poisonous snakes.
And they don't take the venom sacs out, not even for the priest.
No, because that would go against what this one verse says. And so he gets bit, and he's like, oh shit, and he's like, and as this is like in the last 10 minutes of the film, you see his hand get progressively larger. It's totally swollen, and he's like, okay. This just happened, but you know what? I believe in the Lord. And you know what? Even if I die, that's still okay. The Lord's word still makes sense. And I'm like,
what?
Hold up.
This is the longest suicide con in the world. This is like the long game where you're like, I do want to kill myself, but I want an audience.
Right.
And I want it to be weird. Did he die?
I don't know.
Oh God!
It just ends. The movie just ends. But it's funny because like you see him kind of like, okay, yeah, this is great, and then people around him speaking in tongues and losing their shit, and there's kids who are just asleep in the pew because these meetings go on for hours.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get a lot of footage.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And it's not. What's his name? Jamie Coots?
I don't know.
February, a Pentecostal pastor in Kentucky featured in the National Geographic Channel reality television show Snake Salvation. Different show.
No.
Different pile of crazies. I judge.
This was in West Virginia. This church was in West Virginia.
Coots died from a rattlesnake bite during his service. What kind of
I believe
church
they
was it?
were the one that Holy Ghost people.
Yeah.
It was like a Pentecostal,
Oh, no,
super,
what kind of snake?
I think it was I don't know what kind of snake it was. It was poisonous though. One of the baddies.
Okay. I guess people die. I just tried to Google it. A lot of people are dying of snakes. The snake church is full of a lot of people that are dying. I don't know if you saw Moon Knight. Did you see Moon Knight?
No.
Moon Knight is a Marvel television program where there are two different deities, Khonshu and Ammit. And I'm going to weed off here. Ammit on my own dorkdom, which is Marvel. And Ammit they're both Greek gods.
Mm-hmm.
They have been marveled. They have been comic booked. So those of you from Egypt who worship these deities, this pantheon, this is not your god. It might have some similarities, but it's very Thor played by Christopher Helmsworth kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's Khonshu and there's Ammit. Khonshu is supposedly the god of justice. Moon Knight works for that god. And then there's the bad guy who works for Ammit. And Ammit's god is a preemptive justice god. And she can look into your heart and see if you've ever done anything wrong or if you're going to. And if you're going to, you die anyway. And so with Khonshu, there's some due process. There is essentially, you've done a crime. He sends Moon Knight after you. Moon Knight then kills you. There's judge, jury, and executioner. All happens with Khonshu. But Ammit, it's preemptive. And so the only reason I tell you that, why do I tell you that? Oh, is because at the snake church, I'm sure they're like, you would live if you were pure with your Lord.
Absolutely.
That snake will bite you, and then
there's something wrong with you.
Right, that's on you. And
Yeah.
the actual only thing wrong with you is that you're handling snakes.
Yes.
So that's the Holy Ghost one. That's Holy Ghost
Holy
People.
Ghost People, 1967. You can see it on YouTube for free. It's great.
Okay. Oh, exciting. What about the Source family?
Okay, the Source family. You used to be able to see it on Netflix. It's not on there anymore. I'm not sure where you can see it. I watched this 2 or 3 times.
Oh my gosh.
It's so good. So this is, first of all, it takes place in LA in the 70s. And I love any footage about LA in the 70s. I grew up, in Southern California. I was born in 1972. So I love any sort of documentary or any footage or pictures of LA in the 70s. I just love it.
Did you ever watch? That's the last documentary I loved, and I own it, which is the skateboarding one.
Oh, Dogtown and Z-Boys?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's kind of.
I watched that. Oh, I could watch it right now. I love it.
Right now, I own the DVD because I was like, first of all, these are supposedly poor kids, but they're poor kids in LA, so of course they own cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Of course they have access to movie cameras in 1970.
And the soundtrack to that movie is so
To
good.
Die For? Oh,
Yes.
interesting. All right. It's
So
interesting.
anyway, the Source family. So this takes place, again, LA in the 70s, and it started, there was a restaurant called The Source that was on the Sunset Strip.
Okay.
Vegetarian restaurant, like one of the first vegetarian restaurants from what I understand. It was featured in the movie Annie Hall.
Okay.
So it was a super
I'm
popular
sure.
restaurant.
Yep.
And the guy that opened it was this man who I think his name was Jim Baker. Not the Jim Baker.
Just a Jim Baker.
But fucking, side note, have you seen The Eyes of Tammy Faye? Not the actual movie, but the documentary. When we are done here, you're going to hang up and you're going to put that on. It is so good. It's narrated by RuPaul. I think it came out in the 90s. It's so good.
What? Narrated by RuPaul actually kind of does draw me in. Okay.
So good. Anyway, backing up. Different Jim Baker. It was this guy who, he was like 6'4", hair, very similar hair to mine.
Okay. Just gorgeous.
Like gray hair down to his shoulders and a beard to match. He was just like gorgeous. He looked like God. Like when you think about the Lord.
Oh, right. All the photos. Yes.
Yeah. And he started the restaurant, and of course he started like his own kind of spiritual movement. Because it seems like that's one thing I'm learning is like in the 70s, people were like, cults were just coming out. Just everybody had a cult.
Right, it was a cult of personality, and then you
Yes.
needed. It's like podcasts today, and everybody was just like, "We don't have the podcasting equipment, so we're just going to do it door to door," and so,
And we're going to all live together and there's going to be weird sex stuff, which is, kind of like a podcast.
Sure.
And so he started like having like meditation meetings in the restaurant. Long story short, all these people started to like follow him. They all moved into this big mansion together in Los Feliz.
wow.
And like, and the pictures that they have, like they would have these photo shoots,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody was gorgeous.
Sure.
And they would have these photo shoots with like everybody hanging out the windows and stuff, and you're like, this looks
Because they're
super
all
dope.
in their, because they were all probably, he's like probably in his 40s or 50s, but
Yes.
everybody else is in their 20s.
Yes.
And
Some
there's
are-
something.
And some are even underage.
Oh, well, of course, because
course.
it was a simpler time, you guys.
Different times.
People were idiots. Yeah, people were gross and idiots. Congratulations, next generation, for putting the kibosh on that. Kibosh. Okay, so
Everybody's having a great time, and it all starts off great. Like everybody, like cults start off great.
sure,
You know
you're
what I
just
mean?
like, and it's a vegetarian restaurant. He's just figuring out a good way to make Brussels sprouts. Sure.
Right. And it's in the 70s. You didn't have a lot of options. Like we're just talking fruits and vegetables and grains back in the 70s. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
So everybody moves in together. Everybody's having a great time. Everybody's having sex with each other. It seems like this is working out. This is great. He like has a wife and then starts having more wives.
Oh, so it was fine. And then he
Yeah.
was like, you know what I'm going to do?
I need 14 wives.
Though you want an even number so you don't ruin the bunk bed situation.
Everybody
which is
needs a partner to go on the roller coaster together with, right? And so that's kind of the beginning of the end, because you see his one wife,
Yeah.
like his first wife, and she's just like super stoked and like so into him. And then
Right.
he starts adding more wives, and in the pictures you slowly see her just like her face
just get
just
madder
change.
and madder.
And
Poor-
he starts, getting a big head and stuff. And there's like footage of him
And
like delivering babies in that fucking house.
Oh, he starts having babies with these people, probably.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And they're having babies with each other. Does his wife also get to sleep around?
That I don't remember.
Right. And it probably wasn't.
Not.
And it probably wasn't like put into canon. Like it's probably
Right.
in the notes that he gets to have as many wives as he
Right.
wants, but it's not put into the notes that she can have as many husbands.
Right.
Because these
And
people
it's also like an add-on. Like things are going, this is what the cult is about. And then like later on, like, you know what? I know this wasn't original in the original text.
It wasn't on the menu.
I feel like I need to have a wife who's 15.
Oh,
I feel like the Lord is telling me that.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
And was the Lord involved?
He was really into no, I mean, I sure.
Sure.
God is not the Christian God.
Oh, it was a hippie god.
Yes.
It was just some spiritual
this wasn't
experience.
Christianity. This was kind of
Okay.
like, I don't know.
This was just something larger than him.
Yes.
And it was something larger than him was telling him that he needed to have several young ladies.
Yes. And they were like, sweet.
On
sign me
tap.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, and
He would
so that
walk
he could
with
tap
them. He would walk around with them like in a group. It was him and all these gorgeous ladies, and and then they
Oy.
decided again. Is it all right if I just ruin all these documentaries for everybody?
Yes, I will put it as a spoiler alert that these are documentaries. First of all, I need to know how a documentary ends.
Sure.
If I'm going to start watching something, that's why I mostly watch food ones, because guess what's going to happen at the end? Dinner.
Sure.
It's never going to be anything horrible. So in
Mhm.
this case, I'll let people know that this is a spoiler rich,
Right.
and they can watch it being played out themselves. So
And cults typically don't end well.
right, this isn't. This
Other
is
than
not everyone finds.
Scientology and Mormonism and
Which seem to just
Jehovah's
continue.
Witnesses. Yes.
Right. These are we're still in the middle of those stories, as well as Christianity itself,
Yes.
and Hinduism and Islam and all the things.
All of it.
We're all in the middle of the ones that are ongoing. It's the ones
Did
that
you
just.
know?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's good. I will
you-
talk.
Did you know that I went to seminary?
I did not. Are you an internet priest? My husband's an internet is ordained on the internet.
No, I actually attended a conservative Baptist seminary. I was raised Baptist, and was
like Southern Baptist or
no. I mean, in Southern California.
Baptist? Yes.
California Baptist.
Right, California Baptist. Was it super bossy?
Yeah. Very conservative, very like, you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't have sex before you get married.
You get to dance?
No, but my mom let my sister and I take dance classes, which was nice.
Oh, that is nice.
But I was super bought into it, and then I was like, I'm going to go get my master's in counseling, which I have, and I'm going to go to this.
I love that tone of voice.
And I went to a seminary to do it. So I didn't get like a master's of divinity or whatever, but it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go do this. And it was going to seminary and taking theology courses that I was like, wait, what is this?
Yeah, the more you scratch at stuff, the more you find out that it's made of bees.
Yeah.
There's just two, like, one of the greatest things about the Armenian church is that it is in Armenian. Guess who does not speak Armenian? This one right here. So as far as I'm concerned, it remains what I was taught as a child, which is be like the nice man in the picture and get your dad some coffee. Those are the two tenets of the Armenian church. And I'm like, I can live with that.
Yeah.
And he likes coffee to this day. So, so that is...
So I think that's kind of why I like watching these documentaries is it's kind of helping me work out some things.
Your own spiritual journey kind of
thing.
You watch other people.
Yeah, like, wow, other people have totally bought into things.
Well, everybody's searching, everybody to some extent needs to, and even if your God is just the universe or the earth or, trees or a pile of, it's when it becomes a pile of human beings. Like if your God is this, this guy and the community that surrounds it, those are made up of flawed human beings.
Right.
So that can break more than just going, I think it's going to be the sky or the sun or the science itself, which changes all the time. Right.
And the one thing with the source, so cults often also will be like, we are right. Nothing else is right. You have to, if you don't do what we say, then you are wrong. You have to like shun anybody that's not a part of this. That's where cults go. That's where
and they need 10%.
Yes, give us all of your whatever. But the Source family was not like that. They were like, you can go at any time. Like there was no.
Okay.
People were welcomed in. They could leave if they wanted to.
By the way, it is available on Amazon Prime for free.
Oh, great! There you go.
It's with your Prime subscription, I am told, according to the internet.
Watch it. It is so
good.
What
about the vow? Vow?
Can I tell you real fast how Father Yod dies? He dies, God. Everyone. This is kind of this. Yeah. At the end of it. And there are people who still would follow him. Like there are still people who are still like, this was amazing. I still do what he tells me to do. So they all moved to Hawaii. He's like I think the feds were, or the IRS was kind of like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? So he's like, let's go to Hawaii. And it didn't work out. Hawaii did not work out.
No, they won't find us in Hawaii, an island, an archipelago. Yeah, there's not a lot of places to run anyway.
Right. And they bought all this property, but they didn't have any. They didn't know what they were doing. So it was going real south. And he decided one day, I'm going to go hang gliding. I don't know how to do this. I've never done this. And he hang glided himself to death.
Wow.
He just like crashed. And
we are seeing a pattern, Rangers. I want him to be holding a snake while he decides to do this. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
He just bought a hang glider essentially and jumped off a cliff?
Yeah.
Did anyone film that?
I think there was film of him, maybe. I think there was film of him leaving, but I don't think they filmed.
They were just like, oh my God, little snuff film.
There are people who are still like, this was like, he was my guy. Like this was my thing. Everybody changed their name to something super kooky, like Electricity or ISIS or whatever. They all changed their name.
Did you see the new Ghostbusters movie? That kid's name is Podcast.
No,
that's his name. Yeah, the kid's name is Podcast, and because he wants to have a podcast, and he carries around a microphone, no cord. Anyway, so
So anyway, that's how that one ends.
That is amazing.
Yes.
Wow. And there was something about. So do they think that there was some sort of tampering with are there conspiracy theories?
No, I think some people thought that he did that like he was killing himself. They thought he was done. This was how he was going to do it.
Again, the long con of suicide.
Right.
This is very elaborate.
Right.
And
but they said too that he crashed on a beach, and he had no external injuries.
What? Like
he died 9 hours later.
Okay. Well, Paul Wellstone. Anyway, there was some sort of drama. So, okay, how about The Vow?
Okay, have you seen The Vow on HBO?
No.
So the first part, I think there's like 4 or 5 episodes. They are available now. I think it came out last year. They are getting ready to show the second part because this is still an active crime scene.
Oh. Okay.
So, The Vow, this is so good. Oh my God. This is one of the series. It's super well produced, like super high production value.
Shiny.
And it's like you see people who are getting out of the cult, who are trying to like help other people. And it's the Nexium Cult where, you've heard of this?
No.
There's an actress. She was on some fucking show.
Right. Well, good for her.
I think her first name is Allison. She was like recruiting women into this cult, and the women, a lot of them got branded with this guy's initials.
Oh, I did hear about that.
And she's in jail now, and he's in jail, and what's great
the branding of people.
Yes,
Lord. And
I forget the guy's name. I'm not great with details, by the way.
No, that's fine. Seduced inside the Nexium Cult.
Yes.
NXIVM. It looks like Roman numerals for a million.
And it seemed like when they first start talking, it seems like it's kind of like a career building, like a self-help. This is how you become your best self in your career. Like that's what the kind of seminars seemed like.
And this is different from The Vow, or is it part of the same?
The name of the documentary is The Vow.
Okay.
But it's about the Nexium Cult. Because people were making this vow, and then they got branded. The women got branded for some reason.
It says it's an American cult that engaged in sex trafficking, forced labor, and racketeering based in Clifton Park, New York, with a click so that you can go to their Chamber of Commerce. Wikipedia is weird. That is so weird. It was a recruiting platform for a secret society called DOS. DOS.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? DOS. Keith Raniere?
Yes, that's his name.
Okay. Keith Raniere, Nancy Salzman, Allison Mack.
That's the one. She was on like Smallville or something like that.
Oh my God. Okay.
But you see this guy, Keith Raniere, and first of all the racketeering and the sex stuff, of course you don't see that, right? Like that's like all behind the scenes. Right, that's just
allegations, yes.
Right. And you see this guy, and he's the guy that's like getting all these ladies to like sleep with him, and you're like, when you see him, you're like, I'm sorry? He looks like every Montessori school dad.
That guy?
That's a great picture of him. Yes.
Wow, he looks like a mouth-breathing dude in his 60s. This guy...
He does not have any gravitas. And I don't understand, like, how these ladies were like, this is the dude. And so he also, like a lot of these cult leaders, like themselves to be filmed.
Okay.
And so I'll talk about another one if we have time. Holy hell, that guy wanted everything he did to be filmed.
Oh, wow.
But this guy, Keith Raniere, he had people walk around filming him and stuff. And so you see him you see how he interacts with people and how he draws them in. And like, I'm sitting there putting myself in this, like you see him talking to Allison Mack when she first starts, getting all involved. And she goes to visit him. She goes to talk to him while he's playing volleyball for some reason. Like he would play volleyball at like midnight. And so she's like, oh, this is where I could go talk with this guy. So she goes to volleyball.
Okay.
And he takes a break, and they're sitting there talking. And he's talking to her, and she starts crying for some fucking reason. And because of something he said, and I'm like, what did he just, like, I'm listening to him, and I'm putting myself in her position, and I'm like, if I was talking to this guy, I would be like, I don't know what this is. I don't.
Right.
I'm not saying anything.
But he's triggered her somehow?
He knows how to appeal to narcissists.
Wow.
If you say the right thing to a narcissist, again, this is my mental health counselor coming out. If you say the right thing to the narcissist, if you appeal to their narcissism, you might get what you want.
Okay. It used to just be called flattery. But so everything's very specific right now. Okay. So he has said something. Have you heard of, and you have, remember the term negging, N-E-G-G-I?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you have negative speech towards someone
right.
that makes whatever kind of person they are want to double down and make you like them even more. And so there's that, and then there's just regular flattery.
It's more like he was, let's see if I could think back. She was talking about some vague, like, I don't know, I'm an actress and I just don't know if I'm worthy or if I'm
ever going to make it.
Right. I just have, things are holding me back, just kind of like things in a vague sense. And he's just like, well, is that, it sounds like you're just holding yourself back or something, like just vague bullshit that I'm
bland,
like, what?
Like, that sounds like a fishing exhibition. So, like sort of that caricature of therapist talk.
Right.
Whenever someone says that, well, I shoplift and I don't need the money. I have the money to do something, but I shoplift anyway. The classic question is what are you getting out of it?
Thank you.
Is it the thrill? Is it the danger? What is it? It's interesting that your beagle can open a door. Anyway, so but so it's sort of like that. It's sort of like trying to find that the crack in the armor that where you can get in there.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they're writing you checks.
Yes.
Okay.
He also, and so he, convinced all of these people through these like seminars to like join up, and it was like super expensive. It was very similar to Scientology where you had to like pay for certain trainings or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he also had a singing group. Oh, that was another thing about the Source family. The Source guy, they also had a band that he fronted, and they were awful. They were awful. And by
the way, we're talking with Shelley McLendon, who has a website called Smooth Jazz Inferno. So she knows her music.
I should know.
SmoothJazzInferno.com.
I should know.
You should know. Yes. Okay, so everybody's got a band. And the new people, the people in the vow,
yes,
have the Partridge Family. They're a band. They're okay.
Called Simply Human.
Oi.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they are a stink bomb. And so, and they like travel around and perform and stuff. Anyway, the documentary, like, it really builds really well. Like, you see this woman who lives in Vancouver, and she's gotten out, and she's one of the ones that's gotten branded, and she's married to someone that she met in the cult, and they're out, and they're trying to, like, I think they're trying to get other people out because there's an actress whose daughter's in there. Who is it? It's not Bo Derek, but it's someone like Bo Derek. Maybe it is Bo Derek.
Maybe it is. Who's...
No, it's not. You can look it up.
Right. The actress. So, trying
her
to get out.
Her daughter's in there, and they're trying to get her. They're trying to help this woman get her out of the cult.
Right. So,
it's
Gwen, Catherine, Page, India.
No.
So, some actress's daughter.
I think she's an actress. Gosh, I am so great with details. I can really tell a good story.
Well, the thing is the good news is this is not part of the spoiler. You guys, if you watch The Vow, then you'll know.
You'll see.
Where Catherine Oxenberg's daughter,
Catherine
India,
Oxenberg.
is now...
Catherine Oxenberg, yes.
Okay.
She was in Dynasty or Falcon's Crest.
How did they get her out?
I don't think they did.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
because,
I think that's part of part 2.
We're at minute like 35, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to drop a real bomb on you. I'm going to drop a huge reveal.
Dude.
My brother Phil, who has done at least 3 episodes of The Dork Forest, was in the Moonies.
Oh.
And we had to kidnap and deprogram him.
And the Moonies, they're really into guns.
Well, now they are. He's really into fishing now, but and it's been 40 odd years, maybe 50. But he is. They're really into sales of granola back in the early mid 70s when he was in. Okay. He was in 1977. He was 76, 77. I think we kidnapped and deprogrammed him. And when I say we, I mean a bunch of people that my stepmother found the name of on Phil Donahue.
Wow.
And so I've been meaning, I don't think we ever did a Dork Forest with Phil about the Moonies, but we should, because that's how we got him out of that. And then he became a deprogrammer.
Interesting.
And he said that the weirdest thing about it, he eventually stopped because they had to reprogram people and they made them all into Christians. And if you wanted your kid made back into a Muslim or a Jew, you had to pay extra because they had to hire that out. And but if you wanted sort of a basic sort of Protestant or a basic sort of Lutheran kind of Christianity, everybody could fake that. And
wow.
So, yeah, pretty weird.
Huh. And was he mad like when you went and kidnapped him?
No, he was all right with it. He was he had lost like 70 pounds. He was always kind of a big kid, and then he was super skinny when he came, and when he walked into our trap, which was baited with food, and then my dad took him to my cousin
Was there
Murad's.
like a trail of food with a box and a stick and a string?
A stick that he knocked down. It's like, and pull it, and he's in. And essentially, they kept him in like this slum, this sort of abandoned building that my cousin Murad owned, and in Racine, Wisconsin, for a week until finally he was like, fine. And then they put him in a halfway house for a couple of months, and then he became a deprogrammer himself, and then he sold printing for 45 years and had 4 children. Well, 3 children and a nice stepson, a nice young man, and has been married now twice, and just recently remarried, and things are lovely. He got out of the cult, didn't start his own. This is my second oldest brother. And so, yes, so you have an
interesting history with religion in your family. It sounds
we
like.
really do, don't we? Anyway, but I want to know. So The Vow, that's a series of like 6 or 8, and it's going to be a series. Like there's a second season.
Yes, so it ends. The last season ends with Keith Rainier getting arrested.
Dun, dun, dun.
And so he's in prison right now.
Oh, good.
And then so part 2 we'll talk about that.
You'll come back. You'll tell me what's happening in season 2 of The Vow. But what is Holy Hell? Because,
Holy Hell is a documentary. Again, this was on Netflix. Maybe you can find it on Amazon. About the Buddhafield cult that was started in the 80s, kind of late 80s, and I think into the 90s. It still exists. It sounds like in Hawaii.
Okay.
They went over to Hawaii. They still recruit people from yoga studios. And it was the big takeaways from Holy Hell. This is a real good one to watch. This guy wanted everything filmed, and so there's a ton of footage that's fascinating. He wore I don't know how he got people to follow him, but he was super charismatic. He was very fun, I guess. There's like footage of him like dancing and like how getting people to dance with him on a beach for some reason. And he would often just be wearing dolphin shorts.
What, shorts with dolphins on them?
No, don't you remember?
I don't remember dolphin.
Don't you remember dolphin shorts from the 80s? They're like real thin and short, and they're kind of like, they look like running shorts, but people
but they
would just
ride
wear
up
them.
on a little bit?
They accentuate your butt. Yes, there's like
Sure.
a slit on the side. He would often just wear those.
Wow.
And like Reeboks. He often had a fully lined eye.
Oh, wow.
And towards the end of at least the documentary, he was getting lots of plastic surgery, but acting like he wasn't.
Oh,
and,
okay.
You know, and so the big takeaway from that was that, of course,
recruiting through yoga studios.
Yes. And there was weird sex stuff. He would just like get mostly men to have sex with him who didn't really want to, but would like,
Kevin Spacey. A little bit of that. It says it's not to be confused with the UK-based charity called Buddha Field.
Yes.
Events organization and Sangha Buddha Field, which has no links with this group. Wow.
And so he really wanted to be a performer himself.
Sure.
And so he would like require all of his people to like, they would have like these big dance performances, fully costumed, fully produced on a stage, and no one would be there to watch it because everybody in the cult was in it.
Wow.
And
so everybody got to be in. So
everybody got to be in it.
But so they were just performing. They were just essentially having. It was, you know what it was? It was kind of a LARP, a live action role playing. Because you don't watch a LARP, you just play.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
This guy. It looks like he did sit-ups.
Yeah, he was super in shape. That's the guy. Those are dolphin shorts.
Those are dolphin shorts, and look at his penis. What's happening there?
We can. There's nothing. I
don't think that's
to the
real.
imagination is left.
Well, that, and it doesn't feel like it's real. It feels like he's packing.
He did have a cameo. I don't know if it's a cameo, but he had a small part in either The Omen or Rosemary's Baby. I think it might have been Rosemary's Baby.
Wow.
And that was his claim to fame. But the documentary itself, again, there's lots of footage, and the guy that's making the documentary goes back and confronts him. Like, he finds him on a beach in Hawaii, and is just, nothing really happens with the confrontation. I think the guy's name is Michael or Michelle.
Yep, that looked right when I was there for a hot moment.
Yeah.
At that Wikipedia page, and then I went for a photo because, he's sort of he had regular features.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the thing about Los Angeles is a lot of these were started in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Sort of. There's a couple ways you can go. You can get into production, or you can go ultimate banana land and try to, and that's why I think podcasts have really bled off a lot of these sort of cult people. But it has also created a different kind of cult. Like, if you think about a guy like Joe Rogan, who was on, he was on a TV show, right?
He was on Survivor?
Frasier?
Joe Rogan? I thought he was on a reality show.
I thought he played a button-pushing DJ on Frasier.
Oh, did he?
And then he turned into, it was like, it would be like if I became a security guard at the airport, because that has been my only acting role. And granted, his was recurring, but I was on Murphy Brown as as an airport security guard. And it would be like if I decided to do that for a living, because that's what Hollywood saw me as. And Hollywood saw him as a right-wing shitwit. And so he said to himself, they're right.
Accept it.
They're right. Mm-hmm. And now, $200 million later, it's all working out for him. I wonder if there will ever be a Joe Rogan documentary. Do you think?
There has to be. I bet there's one in the works right now, don't you think?
Oh my God. I would think so. And when you told me that this guy liked to be filmed, I was reminded of another documentary I saw, which was a Madonna documentary where Warren Beatty was in it.
Oh yeah, it was it came out in the 90s.
Right. It was a long time ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was on tour.
Yes.
And at one point, there was like the director or somebody said to Madonna, because Warren Beatty was in the green room, they were dating, I guess, and
Truth or Dare.
Truth or Dare.
Yeah.
And the documentary and the director or somebody or somebody behind the camera said, "Do you want me to turn the camera off?" And Warren Beatty goes, "She never wants you to turn the camera off. Don't be ridiculous." And I thought that was my favorite part of that particular moment.
He said a lot. He said a lot, and they did not work out.
And now, what is the Devil's Playground?
Oh my God. Again, I watched this one a couple times.
Okay.
This one isn't so much, I don't know, is it a cult? Or is Amishness a cult? I don't know.
I don't know. I always think that there's a certain amount of credibility if it's like eventually Scientology. I mean, it's been around for 50 years. There are children that were raised in it.
Yes.
And
what?
Devil's Playground, is that the one you said was where they get to go out and
yes.
And because there was an episode, I think, of either Castle or Bones or NCIS, one of those sort of like, or Law and Order, right? Where the kid is killed. He's out on his Devil's Playground year. Yeah. What's it called?
Roomspringa?
Roomspringa. Right. And then Law and Order is like, well, we have to solve this crime. And yeah.
So, yes, Roomspringa that's what Devil's Playground is about. It's about the thing in, I don't know if all Amish cultures do this, but Amish people are Christians and they don't believe, again, this is according to the film.
To the documentary, yeah.
It was a documentary. They believe that in order you cannot make an informed decision to become a Christian, to like follow the Lord until you are older and like, you have to like make that decision yourself.
Which I think is, yeah, even as much as I know of it, which I know from essentially an episode of Bones or Law and Order, it sounds like a fair thing to do. Yeah. Like if you're going to raise a kid in a religion, you had to go to college to learn what else might happen.
But if you decide you don't want to do it, then you get shunned.
Oh, so you can never see your family again?
Yeah. So it's kind of like, well, is this really a choice?
Oh, that doesn't feel like a choice.
Right. And so Roomspringa is when the kids get to go out, usually of 16, 17, 18, whatever. They don't have to live in the community, but a lot of them still do. But they get to go out. They get to like experience what it's like to not be Amish. So they are drinking, they're smoking, they're having sex. They sometimes get into drugs, and then they're like, okay, do you want to come back? And if you want to come back, then we're here for you. But if you don't, then you can just fuck off, and we're not ever going to talk to you again. Wow. And so it's about that, experience for kids. And
right.
They follow
that is a couple of serious trauma.
I know, and it's like, just imagine what it's like for these kids to like totally sheltered, totally very simple living, very family oriented, to
no
just
buttons, according to the TV, according to the movie Witness.
Exactly, no electricity.
No
But although that's another thing about the documentary is they kind of point out, like, just through pointing things out, just like stating objectively what's happening, they point out like, you guys are a little bit flexible, but you act like you're not flexible. Like all the kids have cell phones. You know what I mean?
What?
Yeah, they all have cell phones. And here's what's crazy. Again, this is in this documentary, whatever, I don't know what, Amish.
Right, we can't speak to all the Amish, and we are not.
Yes.
And know in your hearts, Rangers, and you do, that information is not our strong suit. Enthusiasm is our strong suit. Go ahead.
Exactly. So there is this, so there's a guy and a girl and they're courting each other, right? And which means like, we're going to get married. That's like, that's the, that's the end goal. They're courting. And so this one girl, courting this guy's courting her, and they go on a date, but they have to have a chaperone, right? Which makes, that makes Amish sense. But what does not make sense is that they can sleep in the same bed afterwards.
Are they bundling? Are they bundling like it's the 12th century where they're each wrapped in their own blanket?
I don't know. But lo and behold, there's lots of teen pregnancy.
Oh, lo and behold, tab A, slot A, and then all of a sudden a release of goods and services. I have an analogy for everything, you guys.
So it's like they point out things that's like, wait, what?
What?
But what else is hilarious is so they're just kind of following kids around on their Rumspringa, and the guys typically don't dress Amish when they go out. They wear, regular
Jeans and a t-shirt.
jeans and a t-shirt, but the girls still often will dress Amish. So they still, and they have like these giant parties, like these like Amish teen parties in a field. There's no electricity, but it is like cuckoo bananas. Everybody's just like raging their asses off. All the guys like look normal, but all the holly hobbies are just like running around, like making out and smoking and.
Wow. I bet you if you were a 17-year-old Amish dressed girl, you could get some real action out there with Amish boys or without. Because that outfit is all kinds of sex fantasy right there. All kinds of weirdo kind of going, what's under there? Same shit that's under a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, my friend. I don't know why, but that bonnet really is get me going, get me revved up. Weird.
Yeah.
So how does that end?
It ends, oh gosh, how does it end?
Because they follow several kids, right? They follow very specific children.
They follow a few. There's this one guy who you're just like, oh, are you going to make it? He decides to, he Rumspringas, and he gets into meth. And he gets into selling meth and taking meth. And so you're like, oh, this seems kind of, you see him get really paranoid, and he's, living in this kind of shitty house, and you're like, oh, you kind of need to go back. Like, you're not handling this well.
Right. You might actually have an addictive personality that's actually, this is going to end poorly.
Yes. And I believe he goes back. I think all the kids go back. Maybe there's one that doesn't, but because they're just like, you lose everything that all of your family if you don't. So it's.
Right. But it would be an excellent way to get away from an abusive family.
Oh, for sure.
Like if you have let's say one of your family members are horrible and are sort of abusing you in some sexual or physical or even emotional and browbeating the hell out of you. It might be a great way to sort of cut loose and go, well, I will miss my little brothers, but I gotta go. Maybe I could go out and make a life for us, and they could come to me when their Roomba time has come. And notice how I've shortened it to Roomba. Ethnically sensitive. That's what I think of myself. When I think of myself as a person who thinks of sensitivity training,
absolutely,
Jackie-cation is the one you go to. Nope. It's you start out in dum-dum land, and then I have to be taught. So I will weed off. We're almost at the end of the hour.
Yes.
But I will weed off and tell you that I have been watching. Essentially, it's like watching 1,000 episodes of Law and Order and Castle and NZ. It's everything your mom is watching, right? And so I've been watching a Canadian murder mystery show called Murdoch's Mysteries. And there are 15 seasons, which means that there's easily 300 episodes. And
You're never going to be done with this.
No,
you
just finished them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I just spent the last month and a half doing something that I've never done before, which is binging the fuck. And it was nice. And there was, I just watched one where they were talking, it was about a woman who was clearly autistic, right? Was helping the police because she had that sort of savant, and the main character, Murdoch, forgetting.
This is a fictional show.
Yeah, it's just a cop show, right? It's one of those like British constable shows.
Oh, right.
But it's set in Toronto in the early 1900s. And so the detective refers to this woman with autism as an imbecile. And the constable says, we don't say that word anymore. The current word we're using is moron. And it was so revelatory because that is exactly what it is, which, by the way, is a direct line to Doug Stanhope's bit about how they can change the word from imbecile to moron to retarded to developmentally disabled to person who does this on the spectrum to whatever word. But he said, but my friend Tim will still call me it. He will change just as quickly as that word. And my friend Tim will call me the word when I miss a basket, right? Whenever I do when I trip and fall, he will still call me that entire parade of words. And you can't change Tim. You can change the word, but you're never going to change Tim. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but feel free to look into Doug Stanhope's published works. Okay, so, but it did, because these documentaries are so like a slice of life, like it's a point in time where you're like, well, he then had 15-year-old wives,
right.
And you're like, it's not okay. And it wasn't okay then, but it was allowed.
Right.
You know, and the guy was forcing young men to have sex with him, a la Kevin Spacey, but a la everybody since that movie Spartacus. So Spartacus? I forget. It was, all I know is Tony Curtis. There was this thing, some people prefer oysters. Just random references at this late date. Shelley McLendon, have you had a good time?
I have had a wonderful time. I'm sad that it's over.
It's amazing. These are fascinating documentaries, you guys. Holy Ghost People, The Source Family, The Vow, Holy Hell, and Devil's Playground. Tip of the iceberg.
Yes, there's so many. I even had backups in case we had more time to fill. Right.
You had 5. Right. But as is usual, when I don't know somebody very well, but I want them to like me, I end up talking more. So everybody, Shelley McLendon is the owner and proprietor of the Siren Theater in Portland, Oregon. Yes. SirenTheater.com, at Shells McBells on Instagram, and SmoothJazzInferno.com on the internet. And I, Jackie Cation, will be in Portland, Oregon at the Siren Theater September 16th and 17th. So feel free to make it a destination if you live in that area. And if you don't, well, just tell anybody you know that lives there. But thank you so much for doing the show.
Thank you so much. This was a blast.
Awesome. And Rangers, you know the rules out there. Take care of each other.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?